Hey, it's Vincent here from Vincent Games, your untapped source of MTG tips, info and discussion. Welcome to Black White Zombies Deck Tech and League for Standard. At the moment, Standard is kind of dominated by Temur Marvel, Aetherworks Marvel decks, and Zombies has seen a bit of a decline. It just hasn't been putting up the numbers compared to the aforementioned Marvel decks and these green-black decks that we're seeing as well. Why do I think this deck is good and powerful? So Zombies, Mono Black Zombies is pretty aggressive, and that's the biggest sort of plus point for it. It just kind of gets under decks like Marvel and just punches through. And the same can be true of Black White Zombies. The biggest argument to not playing white in the Zombies deck is also the biggest argument, in my opinion, for playing Black White Zombies, and that is Shambling Vents. So we have 4 of Shambling Vents in this deck, which enables you to have a better game against control and a better game against sweepers. Now, the argument is it makes the deck a lot slower, so that does then make your control matchup a bit worse, because you're not able to put as much of a clock on as early as possible. But what it does provide you is protection against sweepers, which they will be bringing in against you. If they don't have them in game 1, they'll definitely have them in game 2. So that's why I really like Shambling Vent, because it gives you that protection against those kind of strategies that get played against you in the sideboard games. And it's also really good if you get flooded out, which this deck can do quite easily because it's playing 24 lands and very little filtering or card selection. Cryptbreaker does help with that a bit, but if you don't draw Cryptbreaker, then sometimes you can just flood out. So having the Shambling Vents is nice to mitigate that, because at least you have something to do with your mana. The other thing is Gideon, Allied Zendikar. I mean, the ubiquitous Gideon is just good, and again, helps against the decks that you struggle with. So against Aetherworks Marvel, if they Marvel into a Chandra Flamecaller and wipe your board, and you have a Gideon in play, or you then untap and cast Gideon, then that's really good, because it's very difficult for them to then deal with. And the same against Blue-Red Control. I mentioned Blue-Red Control a lot because this is the deck's worst matchup, I think. It just has a lot of disruption, a lot of creature kill and counter spells, and just ways to wipe through what you put to the table. If you play quite a simple strategy of just playing zombies and attacking, it just kind of plays into the control deck's hand a little bit. So that's why Gideon's really good. The rest of the deck is fairly stock. So you have the 4 Cryptbreaker, 4 Dread Wanderer, 4 Diregraf Colossus, 4 Lord of the Accursed, and 4 Liliana Mastery, and 4 Dark Salvation as well, which isn't pictured, but it is there. 4 Dark Salvation. So that is the core of the zombie deck. You play 6 planes along with 4 Concealed Courtyard to get the white to help you cast the cards like Wayward Servant, Binding Mummy, Anguished Unmaking, and your Gideons. 6 planes is not that great to be playing in this sort of deck. However, you do need double white, so you kind of just have to suck it up and play it. And it is the reason why you can't play Relentless Dead. You could get cute and maybe try one off, but then you have to question what you're really getting out of that. And Relentless Dead is really good, and again plays very nicely against certain decks. Can dodge removal very well if you've got the mana open for it, but it can be rough on the mana sometimes. So I steer well clear of clumping more for Binding Mummy instead, which could easily be Metallic Mimic again to help with the mana, which I wouldn't be unhappy to play. However, seen some recent deck techs on Binding Mummy, and I'm willing to give it more of a chance. I've often felt it's the weakest creature. However, against creature-based matchups, it can be really good. And with green-black becoming quite popular at the moment, it could actually be really, really relevant to have the Binding Mummies. The other thing it does enable you to do is play less removal in the main deck, because if you have Binding Mummies, you can you tap down your opponent's creatures and just force through damage that way. So you have that kind of pseudo removal effect in Binding Mummy, and not having to actually dedicate non-zombie cards to the main deck. Which leads me to the sideboard. So there's no main deck Fatal Push because Marvel is so predominant, and I expect to be playing Marvel quite a lot in the competitive league, and Fatal Push versus that deck is just almost a dead card. So I'm just happy just to relegate that to the sideboard for now. Again, through seeing another deck tech, I have a Grasp of Darkness. I don't like it for the same reason I'm not playing Relentless Dead. However, the tempo that can be gained from the instant speed is really good, and -4/-4 is very powerful, so it does kill a lot of what you want to kill. I could easily put in another Declaration in Stone and be probably happy, if not just as happy with that. You have another Anguished Unmaking for going against Marvel if you want an extra way of trying to kill Aetherworks Marvel. I forgot to mention Aetherworks Anguished Unmaking in the main, because that's another little reason. So there's lots of little reasons which kind of stack up to why I prefer playing the black-white version. And Anguished Unmaking really kind of pushes it over the edge as well, as to why to play this deck. Because if someone casts Marvel against you and they get the Ulamog and you're not completely blown out by that, you can Anguished Unmaking the Ulamog or Anguished Unmaking Aetherworks Marvel if they've missed, to just remove that from the board. You have the Declaration in Stone and the Dusk Till Dawn for creature-based matchups. Fairly self-explanatory. Dusk Till Dawn is really good at just wiping your opponent's board if they've got big stuff, and then refilling your hand to then overwhelm them. And then we have 2 Transgress and 2 Dispossess, which is pretty much just for the Aetherworks Marvel matchup, but they're also very good against blue-red. Dispossess does do a very good job at removing Torrential Gearhulks. And the reason why I've seen this in sideboards and have lent towards this over Lost Legacy is because you really don't want your opponent to draw cards. I have been on the receiving end of Lost Legacy not being that great. I remember casting Lost Legacy and my opponent was able to draw 2 cards and still execute their plan B fairly well. So it's not great to have that as a potential drawback to that kind of effect. And then 3 Scrapheap Scrounger and the 1 final Gideon in the sideboard as well, to help shore up those matchups that little bit more. And by shore up, I mean make them less of a train wreck. It's really good against sweepers. Good matchups are historically mono black zombies. You have some good tools to outgrind and interfere with their game plan quite well. Between Binding Mummy and Wayward Servant, you just gum up the board, gain lots of life. Other good matchups should be creature-based matchups as well, as especially post-board, you bring in removal for them, and between the life gain and the tapping down shenanigans of Wayward Servant and Binding Mummy, Glorious Anthem effects, you can engineer a situation where your stuff is just bigger than theirs and they can't really profitably attack. There are ways you can lose to them between Bristling Hydra and Glorybringer, but prioritising your removal for cards like that and just going up the board and gaining lots of life is generally quite a good thing to do. And as I said, the worst matchup we could possibly have is blue-red. And Marvel, whilst this deck has the tools to beat Marvel, you can just as easily, you're still suffering the free wins that Marvel can get, but then that deck is pretty bonkers right now. So there we are, that is Black White Zombies. We'll be right back after round 1. If you are interested in seeing more deck techs and standard matchups like this, then please do consider subscribing. But in the meantime, we are going to jump in for round 1. Looking at this opening hand, we probably have to mulligan. Don't really want to keep a 1-land hand, even though we do have 2 1-drops. But our opponent has kept their hand. And as I say, we're just going to mulligan this away. This is a bit better. Probably have to bottom that. It's really good, but I kind of want to draw into something that we can actually do or play. Let's open with Dread Wanderer. I like to open with Dread Wanderer over Cryptbreaker because you're not going to be able to activate Cryptbreaker with the other cards that you want to cast in this situation, so just playing the aggressive start seems better. Double Attune. Either way, we're playing this. Get in for our 2 damage. So we could play Binding Mummy or Cryptbreaker. Probably want to play Binding Mummy as it's better on the mana. And we ain't tapping 3 zombies. I imagine Binding Mummy is probably not going to be good in this matchup. assuming that they're on Temur Marvel. Looks like we're going to face a turn 4 Aetherworks Marvel. Yep. Okay. So we're going to go with a Wayward Servant. Tap down his creature. And then cast a Cryptbreaker. So we drain. Tap down his blocker. Not going to attack with everything, just going to attack with the Dread Wanderer because I want to draw a card. As I fully expect us to get Ulamog this turn. Yep. Spin the wheel. Also, Chandra would be really bad, so it'd be nice to have something to, yeah, something to draw. 2 lands. Interesting. Ugh. It's actually good he hits us with that, because the way is slightly clearer for us to do something back. Need a land though. That was surprisingly good. So we can't really survive very much. If we swing with everything tapping down his Ulamog, then we deal 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we just need another zombie after that to kill them. So that's actually not a terrible play. I do kind of want to draw a card off of the Cryptbreaker, but I think given the position we're in, and we could be Chandra'd at any point, I don't know at this stage if that extra card would actually achieve anything. I think we just need to force 3 damage, and this makes attacking less appealing for our opponent as well. The other thing as well is them attacking is not surprising because we have the Binding Mummies. They're not really incentivized to keep blockers back because we can just tap them down. That being said, they have left the Rogue Refiner back, so do we chump the 10? No, because we don't stop losing to Ulamog's exile ability, and I think we need power back at our opponent. So what all we had? Exile. So literally half of the lands left. Dread Wanderer is interesting. Oh no, this is exile, sorry, so they're not even in the grave. Yeah, I don't think we block because we just need power back at them. And the worst thing they can do is just add more to their board. Which is probably exactly what they are. Oh, Puzzle Knot. Friggin' Puzzle Knot. Okay, we probably just lost now. Double spin. So many things to wreck us. Ugh. Another Ulamog. Fine. Yeah. So if we got a swamp now, then we might be okay. Which is weird because of the Anguished Unmaking. So we just need a swamp. Uh, no. Probably should have waited to block first, but give us a turn, but then we only go down to 7 cards in our library. And that's not good. So yeah. Yeah, I should have blocked first, and then... So basically I wanted to try and draw a swamp, and then cast Anguished Unmaking to kill the Limog in their turn, so they didn't have any counter spells or anything. It's probably best to block and then attempt that. But yeah, we weren't doing so well there. So, but yeah, that would have given me a better chance to win, because at least I would have been not dying to damage. I would have only had 7 cards in the library. But we would have still been alive. Where did that Transgress just go? Ah, there it is. Yeah, so we basically want in 2 Dispossess, 2 Transgress, and 3 Scrapheap Scroungers, because they'll probably bring in sweepers, and a Gideon, because Gideon's good against their sweepers. The stuff we really don't want would be Bunny Mummy, either Dark Salvation or Diregraf Colossus. Diregraf Colossus is nice because it's just a big threat. I think that's probably better than Dark Salvation. Normally I would board out Diregraf Colossus, but I'm going to try boarding out Dark Salvation to see how that goes. And then we need to lose 1 more card. So maybe just 1 Diregraf Colossus. Yeah, we'll go with this. Yes, I would like to play first. This feels okay. We've got a Cryptbreaker and some Disruption, which is quite nice. So we'll see how we get on. It's not the most powerful or aggressive hand, and given the abundance of land, it's probably a good mulligan. But I like the fact that we have the Anguished Unmaking and the Transgress. They're both really useful against this deck. Okay, so let's go. Probably going to get Magma Sprayed here. Because we just drawn an extra land, I kind of want to make a zombie, so we're going to play a Swamp and pass. No. Cycle a Sensor. Interesting. This is the thing with Cryptbreaker. Whilst it is a little bit slow, it is useful to help apply pressure. Interesting. They don't have any green. End step. Yeah. Kill the Cryptbreaker. Sure. So now I'm definitely going to cast Transgress. Okay, so they have Aether Meltdown, a couple of attunes, and Puzzle Knots. Puzzle Knots are annoying. Obviously, the only thing we can really take is the Chandra, which is a good thing to take. Hopefully their deck... Oh... Ah! Annoys me so much. Just clicked far too quickly and didn't cast a Dread Wanderer. Oh, how frustrating. Well, now we just have to cast Gideon. I really hope that doesn't cost us too much. That is so frustrating. Oh, just click too fast. It's so annoying. I was just having a look at what they had in their hand and then just absolutely click too fast. So that's irritating. Sort of thing that happens playing online. You just accidentally press a button and then, oh, it's not your turn anymore. Interesting. So I could double Gideon. I don't really think I want to do that. I'd rather just plus Gideon and beat face. This just seems better. Aether Meltdown? Yeah. So they have to make suboptimal plays here just to kind of not take so much damage. I'm going to play a Dread Wanderer. Better now than never. Could play another Gideon, but I kind of just want to attack. Okay. I think I'm just going to beat face with Gideon. Could then cast another one and make a token. No, because if he untaps and casts... if he untaps and casts... Yeah. Basically, my worry there was if he untaps and casts Aetherworks Marvel, and then spins, I wanted to have mana up to cast Anguished Unmaking on either Chandra or Unamog once it's come down. Because then being able to untap and then just cast another Gideon is pretty good after that. I think we just keep... We're going second. I think we just keep what we have. I don't feel like I want to change anything at this stage. This sounds pretty reasonable. Has zombies and a Transgress the Mind. I like it. Fortunately, that misclick in the last game did not cost us, which was nice. What is this? Puzzle knot? Okay, that is a lot of land. Tempting to transgress here. They can't then counter it. I'm going to wait a turn. Cast Wayward Servant. My rationale behind this is... Yeah. My rationale behind this is they can't cast Aetherworks Marvel now. And they may have negate, which is bad, obviously, for us. We've got enough mana now to play around Censor. So at this stage, I think we just swing in, cast a Transgress. It may have been better just to snap the Transgress off straight away, but I wanted to get something on the board. Multiple Wayward Servants in this spot are not particularly great, as they just play into cards like Sweltering Suns, and you really don't get any value out of having cast multiples, because the life gain is almost completely irrelevant in this matchup. Life loss is good from them. Yeah, I don't think we can afford not to transgress in this spot. Okay, that was great. I don't even know how that happened. It's so frustrating. Fine, so we lost 3 damage, whatever. Just have to swallow that down. Keep misclicking. It's because this guy is taking ages to do even basic stuff, and I'm here phasing out. Yeah, so we take the Aetherworks Marvel. Their hand is otherwise not that great, which is really frustrating that we've missed out on that 3 damage. really frustrating because removing an Aetherworks Marvel at this point, at this juncture, if you like, would have been really good now to actually just sort of close the gap on their life total. How frustrating. Oh, so drain. I'm going to attack because we just need to kill them quickly. I like drawing a card in this spot, but I also just like hitting them. Aetherworks Marvel at any point would be bad. Problem is I don't really want to play more to the board. So we will end of turn Cryptbreaker. Yeah. The problem is if we have more to the board with the Wayward Servants, then we just play right into a Chandra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Chandra or Sweltering Suns. 3, 6, 9, 10, 12 damage. Just need to attack them. Just need to attack. Yep. What is this? Could play double Wayward Servant now. Screw it. Attackers. Now I just put them to dead. Any zombie. This is. I hate doing this just because it's just properly overextending. It's just the amount of drain though. So this is why I don't want to do this. Exactly why I didn't want to overcommit. It's frustrating because that misclick earlier would have basically meant we would have won. We'll just play that. Remove one of the Ulamogs from their hand. Main reason we're doing this is just to return a Dread Wanderer. Don't Magma Spray it. Yep. And this is why the Scrounger and the Dread Wanderer are good in this matchup because of all the sweepers. Wow. Got away with that. Yeah, apologies for the misclicks there. Just getting really impatient at our opponent, just kind of sitting there doing not very much, and then clicking too quick, thinking I'm at a different point in the game. So yeah, almost got really, really punished there by just playing a bit too, clicking a bit too over enthusiastically and missing parts. But yeah, that was weird. Transgress great at just at that really key moment, removing Marvel, thought through 2 Radiant Flames to actually just finish our opponent off. So yeah, off to a good start. See you in the next round.